Hello everybody! We're here with another video on the new season. Today we're going to be checking out this Wardens of Demon Reach build. I actually got this as soon as it was discovered really and have been playing it. They nerfed it a bit. It's still top build, very easy to play, very easy to roll, okay? The first thing we're going to do is start out with what you should be carding, what you should be starting with. The only card you absolutely... Well, you don't actually need any cards for this, is the truth, because Power Blast is a common, you're very likely to roll it as you level or at 60. They're really not a big deal. Ideally, though, you card Power Blast, okay? Oh, this is already for my other build, but you card Power Blast. I think for AoE, Cone of Cold and Shadow Flame both let you instantly get 4 stacks of Gathering Will to do an AoE with Fuego or Arctis, if you want to play it like that. So Cone of Cold and Shadow Flame, both great for that. Dragon's Breath also works. The Dragon's Breath is an epic, and it uses an epic slot and a talent point as well. So I think Shadow Flame's a little bit better, even though its damage isn't really anything special, but neither is really Dragon's Breath. Flame Strike can also achieve this, but Cone of Cold is really not a Frost substitute. I guess it's like Frost Nova, which doesn't really do any damage at all. But so I carded Cone of Cold for this purpose. You can also card a weapon enchant like a Warlock Spellstone is good. Flame Tongue weapon is also good. Frostburn weapon is okay. With things to look at picking up. I like Fell Armor. I'm not running it right this second because I don't know what I did with my enchant for it, but I would be running the Fell Armor. Let's see, what is it called? I should have looked this up first. Fell Armor. I would have been running Twisted Mind for 60 spell power and 3 haste. The 5% reduced heal on you doesn't really matter. But I would run that over one of these Fingers of Frost REs, by the way. So, yeah, anyway. So that I would kind of recommend, I mean, I started with Demon Armor, which makes it much easier to roll into Fell Armor. But for skill cards, like I said, it's not really a big deal. Really nothing too pressing. This is an easy build to roll, even without skill cards. Just, the little boost will come from skill cards, like I said. So, starting out, I started with Frostbolt. I did start with Fireball. I think I had to, no, here it is. I did start with Fireball. Started with Fireball, Fire Blast, I think. Or no, I started with Fireball, Frostbolt, Brilliant Aura, and this Demon Armor. But you can start with Fire Blast. It lets you build to the fire stacks a little bit faster. It's not really great. Scorch is another skill card you can consider, by the way. See, the Scorch version of this build actually does a little bit less DPS than the Fireball build, and I think that's going to become even more true as gear gets better. But the Fireball build, I was running out of mana, and it doesn't have its own, it's not able to provide the 5% crit utility for myself, which I've mostly been running this in dungeons right now. So in raids, I think the Fireball build is going to start to pull ahead, and I think it's going to go a decent bit further ahead as we get better gear, in my opinion. But not how I'm playing it. I did, like I said, I started with Brilliant Sword. I love Brilliant Sword. It really helps with your mana, and it helps the whole team. So, for my REs, this is what I'm running. I don't think the Fingers of Frost REs are really that great. Maybe replace them with like the 2% haste or something. Just like the general good REs. Critical Mass, so I'm critting a lot on my fire spells because I'm not able to go super hard on the fire stuff for crit, and I like having the Ignite up to proc my Burnout here. So, but yeah, the Fireball would have had, has even more crit, which is like another thing that's good about Fireball if you want to run the Fireball build. So, but those are my REs. This is what people are kind of sleeping on, Stay Frosty. This has been great. It really helps make sure you've got a Fingers of Frost up for your Arctis. So I love that. Pendulum, just general good. You can also run Scorched Earth, the thing that lets you use Scorch while moving. that is going to be really good on some fights. Definitely something you want to have in your bag ready to go. And there's other things you can do, but this is what I think is good. This is what I think is easy. Okay. There's that Hydra Sickles that makes Frostbolt AoE. It requires a Fingers of Frost charge. I was playing with it in dungeons. It was really clunky. Not really worth messing with in my opinion, although it does give you 3 stacks of the Frost buff. But you need a Fingers of Frost. It's just kind of a mess. I didn't really like it. But so this is what I'm running for REs, okay? I recommend you run this. You'll see what kind of DPS I'm pulling on this. I am not hit cap without my Fell Armor enchant. And I'd be like just barely not hit capped with it, I believe. Oh no, I would be. 14, 15, yeah, I'd be at like 16% or something. Whatever. So let's get right into the rotation. We already have this stacked up, so I'll show you how much DPS I'm able to pull with this. I'm going to be getting some misses, unfortunately. Weak Auras is great for this, by the way, but you know, I try not to run add-ons when I'm making these videos for lag reasons, and also, you know, this is not that hard of a game. You don't really need to suit up, although it does make it a little easier if you do. Weak Auras is definitely, I think Weak Auras just needs to be built into Ascension. But see, we broke 3k DPS there for a second. I will run out of mana eventually here by myself, but in a raid, you've got people like other Brilliance Auras. You've got people with the replenishment effect. There's like a mana totem around usually, so I don't actually run out of mana really in an actual with an actual raid group. So yeah, this is the build. As you can see, we're pulling around 3k DPS with debuffs and stuff on the target from other players and, you know, other buffs. It goes over that. So, but it's really good. It's also got some AoE. This build is super complete. But yeah, so I really recommend this build. I think some changes can be made to the REs, but this is good enough. Maybe the critical mass is not great. The Fingers of Frost, I don't know. I've tested a few things, and I like how fluid this build plays, like with this setup. But you know, it's your own prerogative. And of course, my DPS is falling off now because the dots were the only thing ticking. But so very good DPS. This really is the highest DPS build I've found with the gear I'm wearing, which we've got this really crappy piece. My gear's not ideal, but oh yeah, this is a really great build. I'm going to have the talents down below. This one's kind of, people maybe wouldn't expect this. Fingers of Frost will grant an extra charge. So I got this range thing because of the 3 charges of Fingers of Frost it gives, which lets you almost always get to do a crit Arctis. Really big fan of that. But it's tough. I have this. Without this, my mana really, I did have more mana issues even with, you know, other people helping out with mana, like with their Brilliance Auras and stuff. So this, highly recommended. Maybe you can get rid of it with more gear, but yeah, so this is the build, and that's all for this video. The build will be in the description as well, of course.